I hope it's recording. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so to start off, we'll cover some announcements. So first thing is, for those of you who haven't seen on Twitter or on news, so the Ethereum 2 deposit contract is now up, finally. The minimum genesis time will be the 1st of December, but keep in mind that's the minimum time, not necessarily when it will be launched. So if you have 32 Ether, you can start depositing it following the launch pad. Please be very careful if you do want to do that right now. Follow the steps, because if you do it wrong, you might lose all 32 ETH. And even if you do it right, that 32 ETH will be locked away for probably 1 or 2 years, depending on how optimistic you are, and you won't be able to use it. So it won't be liquid for you to use outside of Ethereum 2. We've actually also been trying to arrange a staking workshop. So there's some people who said they're interested to have like a whole workshop from start to finish of everything to do with setting up a validator. So there's a community group called Eth2. We're looking to see if they can run the workshop, not just for us, but for a bunch of meetup groups worldwide. So if there's any interest, please let me know, and I'll make sure you're not missed out when that gets organized. And very much related to that is so Etherscan, which is the sponsor of EKL. It's a block explorer for those of you who don't know. They have Beacon Scan, which is an explorer for the Beacon chain for Ethereum 2, and they started this sort of staking contest to sort of encourage people to try out setting up a validator. So it's been running for a few weeks now. So it's people can set up guilds for other people to join. We've set up an ETKL guild. So for those of you who have set up a validator and want to join, or who want to figure out how to set up a validator and join, let me know, and I can let you know the guild to join. What we'll do is, if we get any of the prize money, we'll share it with everyone who join. Probably enough to have, even if you don't win, it's probably enough to for us to have like a makan-makan dinner with everyone. Yeah, and hopefully we can put Malaysia on the map instead of just a lot of other countries. And then, so IBG, the Infinity Blockchain Group, who also run Asia Blockchain Review, they have part of their group Moonstake wallet, and they've asked me to like let everyone in the ETL community know that they're doing this lucky draw, offering up to $100 in ETH for 10 lucky people, and another 50 lucky people can get $10 worth of Ether. And all you need to do is set up, pass them your email and set up an account on their side. Their wallet also allows you to be able to stake and stake Ethereum when it will be up. And some news. First up is, so there's a bunch of stories this month about regulators loving Ethereum. So the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, their chairman basically had very nice words to say, essentially comparing Ethereum to Bitcoin, where if Bitcoin is like the email, Ethereum is like the internet, and like an order of magnitude more users. Even the SEC and the OCC, which the OCC, I can't even remember what it stands for, something to do with currency. Both of their heads have said some very nice words about Ethereum and blockchain as well. So yeah, October has been a love-in for Ethereum from regulators, at least in America. PayPal finally launched a long-rumored service where essentially if you are a PayPal user, you can buy and sell cryptocurrency. So that's more than 300 million people worldwide and more than 26 million merchants. So hopefully that helps a lot with adoption. It's not necessarily the best case yet, because you can't exactly withdraw your crypto from your PayPal account to your own wallet, but it's still a big step forward. And yeah, hopefully a lot more people have an experience using crypto. and then we can start brainwashing them into DeFi and all this other stuff. Maybe not. Third one is, so there's this very nice graph that got shared around Twitter to explain the various scalability efforts for Ethereum. There's ETH1X, there's rollups, which are sort of layer 2 chains on top of Ethereum. And then there's the Ethereum 2, which is what has just been, the deposit contract has just been launched. We'll see if we can have like a proper session just to go through this entire diagram at some other time. I'll share all these links for everyone so you can go and read up yourselves afterwards. So turning to some local news. So our Securities Commission has invited submissions. So anyone who wants to set up an IEO platform, initial exchange offering, or a custodian, so digital asset custodian, feel free to submit before their deadlines. I don't really know who is actually interested in doing an IEO, but if you are, you can do it. And yeah, you can set up and it will be fully licensed, covered by the Securities Commission. There's also a VC based in Singapore, LoonX VC, who have partnered with MavCap, which is Malaysia's largest government-linked VC. And they've mentioned specifically that they will provide growth funding for blockchain startups in Malaysia. So anyone who's looking to start a blockchain startup, you can reach out to them. And we'll see if we can contact them for perhaps becoming a guest at EKL in future and explain a bit more about what they do. And lastly, so for those of you who are constantly trading on Luno, it just a couple of days ago got announced, Luno now supports instant deposits via FPX. So it's free, it's instant. Unfortunately, it's only deposits. You can't withdraw yet, but at least, you know, one way in, you can help. You can be helped, and then going out, it's still not the easiest around. So that's some quick news. Yeah, Paul says, who wants to withdraw fiat? That's true. Although I have to say, just to be fair to everyone, there has for the last couple of months been good opportunities to do arbitrage between Luno and global exchanges such as Binance. So if you'd like to explore that, you can. It's been a lot more competitive recently, but you can still make quite good money from arbitraging. And as far as I understand, that's fully legal, and you're not doing anything wrong by doing arbitrage. But you know, not financial advice. Paul also said that yes, so the first place person or guild in the guild wars has pledged that his winnings will be sent to or donated to DAppNode. So if you want to donate to DAppNode as well, especially after today's talk, you can do that by joining his guild and making sure he wins. Because I think the second place is kind of catching up. I also have seen a DAppNode guild from the Republic of Micronesia. So if you want to join that, you can join that as well. Yeah, Eugene says, those who are desperate in need of cash. Yeah, for sure. You can't really spend crypto in Malaysia so much as yet. Although I'm sure that was in humor, in good humor more than in seriousness. Yeah, so without further ado, I'm gonna invite our friend here, Paul, because a bunch of us already know him in person, to talk about DAppNode. So the title of the talk is Own Your Decentralized Life with DAppNode and Setting Up a Validator, Simple Steps for Setting Up a Validator for Ethereum 2. So let me, Paul, you can share your screen.
Let's see.
Let me know if you.
No.
Okay, try it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oops. Oh, okay. Try it.
Ah, voila, perfect. Brave browser. Let me see. Here we go. Perfect. You should be seeing my screen now.
Yep.
Presentation mode. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Right on. So I'm gonna go through 3 parts on this presentation today. First, I'm gonna explain a little bit why something like DAppNode exists. Then I'm gonna go a little bit in depth into how DAppNode achieves what it achieves, which is basically to be a completely decentralized platform to deploy any decentralized services that you want. And finally, we're gonna end with an example on how to install and deploy one of these decentralized services in your own DAppNode. And this service in particular will be an Eth2 validator in case you're interested in doing that on DAppNode. So let's go at it. First of all, I think I want to start with a little bit of background on how the internet works, but from the infrastructure business point of view, because that's a little bit the reason why the centralized technologies have a purpose at all. So let's say that there's an app developer and to offer this application to the user, and then he is faced with 2 options, basically, to deploy their own infrastructure, to have a server into their own garage, and let the users connect to the server when they want to connect to the app, etc. But that's not really scalable. We've gone past this, and most of the times what you do is you would just hire a server from a cloud provider, or even like a serverless service to a cloud provider, and you pay money for that. But most of the apps that we use are actually free. So how do the app developers make a business out of it? And if they have to even pay the cloud provider plus developers plus whatever they want? Well, this is not a secret that what they do is they collect the data from the users and they sell that to advertisers, data brokers, insurers, employers. Depending on the type of the app, the data will be more sensitive or more critical or more interesting economically for a type of user or a type of data consumer. Not only this, but also cloud providers themselves, they're in a very interesting spot when it comes to data, because what they do is they might be selling space on their servers, and they're sort of like black boxes, especially what you have might be encrypted there, might not, but they do have a big percentage of the people that are using different services. Meaning I might be using Spotify, and I might be using Snapchat, and I might be, does anybody use Snapchat anymore? Anyway, and might be using, you name it, any other apps. And they're actually all hosted in the same cloud provider, which could be, let's just say, as an example, Amazon Web Service, AWS. So they have this sort of like hawk-eye view on what one user, one IP, one member of this big vast internet, which services it's connecting. And yeah, as I said, they might be the connection might be encrypted, so they might not know which snaps do you look at Snapchat or which songs do you listen to Spotify, but they do know, and they can trace patterns on what you do on these different services. Not a big deal. Why is this not a big deal? Because everybody uses it. It's so comfortable. Everything is on the cloud. And it's just so much better to use the cloud than to use anything else than this garage sort of server, or to have your own server at home. You don't have to store or back up. What happens if somebody spills a glass of water on top of your server? You can rent computing power if you need more. It's extremely scalable. And extremely flexible in terms of if you want more power, if you want less, if you want more bandwidth, if you want less. From the point of view of the user, you can switch between different devices. I mean, it is just so convenient. It is just so convenient to use the cloud. But yes, as I said, it is not only convenient, but it is also like an extremely profitable business. So as I was saying, Snapchat pays 600 million a year to Google and AWS, Lyft another 100 million, Slack 50 million, Pinterest 125 million, and Apple 30 million more. Did you know, by the way, that Apple Cloud or iCloud is actually on AWS? There's no such thing as an Apple Cloud. It's basically Amazon Web Services. Anyway, it's a fun fact. So yeah, from 5 customers, and they're not even the biggest, you know, like those companies are big, but especially Apple, but they're not even the biggest consumers of cloud services. And you get 1.2, like 1.25 billion a year from these customers. And this data is pre-COVID. Now with everybody working from home and ramping up the internet use, that's crazy. I'm pretty sure that's a lot higher now. Anyway, so it's a big business, right? But not only this, it's also a big liability. All of these services that you use, all of this, every time you go into Google and put and say something, it has been proved. It has been proved. All of this data, it is available. Somebody can access it, either through hacking, and like I didn't even put here the hacks. Here I put the legitimate employees, what they can do with this data. Not to speak like, of course, if a legitimate employee can do it, then any hacker with social engineering can also do it, right? But not only this, but there might be, well, there have been thousands and thousands of credit card numbers stolen from maybe 6 months ago from the biggest credit card provider of the United States and Canada. There's been like, so, okay, all of this data is basically there for the taking. Here, I want to point out here, workers here, drug deals, medical details, and people having sex, says whistleblower. That's kind of funny, hee. But that's actually dangerous. That's actually, imagine you live in a country where homosexuality is a crime, and I don't know, and you're actually like have an Alexa, and some self-entitled worker of Amazon decides to report you. I mean, this can have literal consequences. You can have the machines turn on you because they're not foolproof. They're not. One of the great things of the blockchain is that like you can't cheat, right? Well, here those things are not foolproof at all. Okay. This data has been used against us. I don't know if you followed the Cambridge Analytica like debacle, but yeah, and on the previous elections, so that was 4 years ago, right? So in the previous elections, Trump used a company called Cambridge Analytica, who basically compiles all the data from all of these platforms and makes a profile of which sort of person you are. And here, note that they're not trying to see whether you vote Republican or you vote Democrat. What they're trying to see here is which sort of arguments will make you change. So even if you're a Democrat, which type of person you are? Are you somebody that's, you know, like family? Then like those, they will target you with family values advertisements for the Republican side, and they will target you with some sort of content that destroys or that lets you understand how non-family values oriented the Democrats are, and they will make you switch. And some people can be swayed with this. That's this presentation of the person on the right side makes a presentation about how there's a lot of science that goes into it. How do they get the data and the things that they can know with the data? So yeah, there's been one particular person that has been benefited from that, and it's like there was a big trial. Cambridge Analytica doesn't exist anymore, but after this Cambridge Analytica incident, more than 200 companies are now doing something like that, similar things. So okay, so we agree that having your data in a VPS, in the cloud. VPS is virtual private server, and it's basically a server in the cloud. So actually, Ethereum is mostly on VPSs. Ethereum is in VPSs. Ethereum, most of the Ethereum, more than half of the Ethereum nodes are in the cloud. So what's the point? And here I'm going to explain what's the point. If you want to make a transaction and you are Iranian and you want to connect to Infura, and Infura receives an order to not. So MetaMask, sorry, let me explain a little bit. So a MetaMask, which is a web wallet or a browser extension wallet that most of you will have used if you have used Ethereum, uses by default Infura operated nodes. Infura is a big infrastructure provider for the Ethereum community, and most people will be able to connect for free to an Ethereum node if they use Infura. But Infura is a US-based company. It's owned by Consensus. And if the government says, hey, you can't operate with people coming from Iran, like if you're Iranian, you can't use it, you get blocked, you get censored. And now you're thinking, Iran, well, I mean, I'm not from Iran, but hey, let's say that, I don't know, Trump wins again. Looks like he's not gonna, but like, hey, let's say Trump wins again. It's just like, ooh, Malaysia, Muslim country, Muslims bad, out, out, you can't operate with Muslims. This won't happen, okay? But you see where the censorship happens here. You can start all of these VPS companies, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, only AliCloud is not in the United States. And it's also arguably in sort of like a region where the government is known to meddle a little bit with what the companies can and cannot do in their jurisdiction. So yeah, so here's the thing. With decentralized technologies, you own your node. When you have your own node for Ethereum, you can broadcast transactions directly onto the peer-to-peer network. You don't depend on any company. So here's what I'm saying. On all of these DeFi things, like Uniswap, for example, you can't use it if you're from Cuba, Somalia, Iran, North Korea. You can't use the front end. You can use but you can use the smart contracts. So if you have your own node, you can deploy your own front end and use it. But if you want to go to uniswap.exchange, it won't work. They'll block you. So that's what we're trying to do. You need your own node. You need to deploy your own front end in order to be censorship resistant, right? That's our vision. And not only this, but you can also create like all sort of decentralized applications that wouldn't even need to have a VPS in the first place. So let's imagine on the first example, we had an app developer that was developing an app and was putting the content on a VPS. So what's the business model here? Or like this app developer right here on the right side will deploy the app onto a decentralized network or will deploy nodes that everybody can deploy in their own machines. Will deploy nodes and it will make their app decentralized. We'll turn it into a DApp. So any user can actually become a hoster and host the infrastructure of this decentralized app on their hardware and receive money for it. The app developer would be paying for it anyway, right? But instead of paying it into the VPS, into Amazon Web Services, he can pay it as micropayments into all the users that are hosting this. Then those nodes, they will have an API, and the app user will just connect directly to this in a decentralized fashion to this network of users. Anyway, this is just a little bit of a vision of what can happen with the centralized infrastructure as well, and how there is a model that works as well for decentralized infrastructure. We don't need to rely on this cloud anymore. DAppNode, we're doing that. We're doing exactly that. We're facilitating the creation of a decentralized hardware infrastructure layer. So what is DAppNode exactly? DAppNode is open source software. You can install it, you can download it right now if you want, and it will transform any hardware into a decentralized server, DApp, a node manager, and your gateway, basically your gateway to the Web3. We'll have a look at how it looks later. I think it's a lot easier to understand if you're actually seeing what it is, but basically it's a software that it contains, or that is completely modular, so it can host any DApp or node with a DNP, a DAppNode package, and anybody can create a DAppNode package. So you just need to use our SDK if you have a DApp and post it on IPFS through our SDK. And there we go. Everybody has access to your DApp to deploy locally, to deploy a node locally. It is easy to deploy and maintain. We have like the goal of DAppNode was to create something that even my grandma could use, right? So it's basically all graphic user interface. And so you can install it with a couple of clicks. and it has auto updates. So it's meant to be low maintenance as well. Once you install a DApp, if the DApp developer makes an update, you will receive the auto update as well. And this is non-trivial for a completely decentralized system. We'll see how we do it later. And most importantly, or I think what people find really interesting, is that it's meant to benefit from the incentive layer that some of these projects are deploying. So imagine that the Spotify example that I put before, where by you hosting and serving from your own server into different people, you actually get paid for it. Well, that's meant to be to do that extremely easily, because we don't care so much about one DAppNode user, which we do, of course, but we care a lot about creating a network, creating a decentralized network that it's really easy to deploy. Networks are more resistant the more distributed and decentralized they are. If one node goes down, you still have 30 more to connect, or 3,000 more to connect, or 3 million more to connect. All right. So the vision is the centralized hardware infrastructure layer, right? Where users can host dApps in an uncensorable, private, and decentralized way. Oops, sorry. Users provide distributed access to nodes and dApps to people that are not, I mean, we understand that not everybody will have their own server. So you also share access to these nodes. dApps don't have to rely on centralized services and can pass the value to the nodes or the hosters. And DAppNodes are federated, redundant, and failure resistant. That's the vision. Now, okay, let's take a pause here. That was all the philosophy part. Why does DAppNode exist? In order for you to be the owner of your own technology, of your own data, of your own transactions, so you never have to connect to a centralizing party that might compromise you, censor you, sell your data, or anything like that. Okay, cool. Let's dig deep into how do we do that. Right, so let's say that you're trying to browse a centralized website, like for example, the front end of Uniswap, since we were talking about this before. What you do is you connect to two centralizing points. You first need to go to a DNS, and you need to ask this DNS, hey, where is uniswap.exchange? Because uniswap.exchange is not an actual direction on the internet. There's an IP behind it, right? So you go to a DNS and say like, hey, where's uniswap.exchange? And it gives you an IP. And this IP is potentially, as we said in the first slide, is very, very likely not a personal server hosted in a garage, is in Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud or IBM Rackspace. So it's another centralizing point. And then these servers will serve you the HTML of the Uniswap front end. Right, so how do you do this in a decentralized way? Well, luckily, we didn't have to build everything, but there is a system called ENS, Ethereum Name Service, that can give you a smart contract where you can put anything behind it. So it gives you a human readable part of a smart contract where you can go and say like, hey, what's behind here? So basically you do that. And since DAppNode is hosting your own Ethereum node, you have an Ethereum node in DAppNode incorporated its model. You don't have to do anything about it. You go to this smart contract. Where is the smart contract? This smart contract is in Ethereum. Where is Ethereum? Well, you're hosting your own copy of Ethereum in an Ethereum node. So you have it in your own bloody computer. So you go into there, you're going to look into the smart contract, and you say like, hey, where is this website? And this website will give you an IPFS hash. IPFS is the centralized storage service, and it can host, for example, a website, a front-end website. So you can render the HTML from your own IPFS node, which is also included into DAppNode. So we're seeing here how we've seen a website, uniswap.exchange, and we've managed to get this website. And we have done it without connecting to any single central server. Okay, and we do that because when you're connected to your DAppNode server, all your .eth requests are intercepted by your DAppNode, and they are, instead of going to the broad internet to ask for a .eth domain, which it doesn't exist, it looks into the smart contract of ENS. That's where they live. Okay, so you want to connect with your DAppNode, but your DAppNode is also in your home. It's mostly like in a place where you can't move it so much. Actually, if it hosts any nodes for blockchains, you will know that if you disconnect this, it will get out of sync. So it basically needs to be plugged all the time. So you cannot carry it with you. But what if you're traveling? What if you're in the office? What if you want to connect from your phone? Well, we've solved that as well. You can connect to your own nodes. That's through any device that you want, through our dynamic DNS, decentralized dynamic DNS. Sorry, dynamic DNS. You basically, you basically go and say, so your DAppNode keeps updating this DNS server, which is, yes, a centralizing point. We have a grant from Consensus to build the decentralized dynamic DNS. Which we are very advanced on how to build. But then yes, your IP, the dynamic IP of your home connection will be available behind this DNS, and it will be updated. So you can connect to your DAppNode from anywhere in the world through a VPN tunnel. And so all the connection is secure, and you can interact with this node from wherever you are in the world. Now let's see. So you want to connect to a Uniswap in a completely, or any decentralized Dapper, in a completely decentralized manner. So you would go to a .eth web DApp or install a DNP. A DNP is a DAppNode package, and it would basically install the front end or the logic or the custom logic that needs to run for this DApp to work. Then you point this DApp to your local node that you have on your DAppNode, and any logic that is managed by a smart contract behind this DApp, like swapping coins on Uniswap, will be broadcasted directly from your own nodes. So you didn't have to connect to a central server to get the front end, and the back end is usually managed by the smart contracts. If you need to do some logic, if you need to do some computation, you basically have to create a DAppNode package that will run this computation locally, and you're good to go. Then you broadcast the transaction from your own node that you are hosting. All right, I think I'm not going to look at DAppNode how it looks, because I'm going to show it later when I show you how to deploy an Ethereum 2 validator with DAppNode, or that's going to be like you can deploy any DApp in the same way. So let's do that later. That's for developers. How many developers do we have here?
I'd say less than half, though.
Less than half. Well, it might be interesting. So I'm going to go very quickly over this. So basically, one of the big challenges here, because I'm talking about decentralization and stuff, but like, what does this really mean in practical terms? It means that you need a repository in order to install these DNPs, these DAppNode packages on your DAppNode. Your DAppNode needs to know what DAppNode packages are available, right? So that's a smart contract, which is Aragon Package Manager, and you basically make or update a new package on the package manager and say, hey, this is the name of my package. You will get a subdomain on the ENS, on the DAppNode repository. And you need to include, well, the actual package will just be a Docker image on IPFS. So when the user reads this smart contract, it was like, ooh, this guy's DApp is available on my DAppNode. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click to install. And basically what you're doing is you're telling your DAppNode to read the smart contract, look for the IPFS hash, goes to your IPFS node, downloads this hash, and this hash happens to contain a Docker image. So it installs this Docker image in your DAppNode, and here we go. and now you're running this this application. Basically, for normal users, what they need to understand here is that it works like an app store. You see a list of apps, you click, you download the app, you install the app, you're running the app on your machine, on your phone, on your laptop, on whatever it is. In this case, on your DAppNode. So the user experience is the same, but without any centralized repositories. And I think that's pretty cool. DAppNode SDK, we can talk about this later during the questions, but yes, everything is, you can do that. You can do that right now. You can Dockerize, if you have a Docker image of your Dapp, or you want to Dockerize anything that you want to test on a DAppNode, that's all you need to start with the DAppNode SDK. I'm not going to get on how to deploy your own app, but with the SDK, you can deploy it on DAppNode. Okay, so we didn't build all of this by ourselves. And it's not only me who finds this valuable because I'm a decentralization freak. I wanted to show you this because some people have believed in us enough to give us money to build this. Ours is a free open source software project. We do sell hardware, but we don't make too much money out of it, not enough to pay salaries. So we have lived out of grants from all of these groups, which I always want to take time to thank, because those are the ones that are supporting the creation of open source software that any developer can then leverage on and have the centralized infrastructure for their own apps. Now let's get to the part that everybody's waiting for. Dun, 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 dun. Ethereum 2.0. Well, any questions so far about DAppNode and how it works?
I
don't know how you want to do it.
A few questions here, but maybe we can do the hands-on stuff.
The round of questions. Okay, cool. So how much time do I have?
Yeah,
around 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Extend it a bit longer too.
Cool. So yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. So before we go into the hands-on, let's talk a little bit about Ethereum 2.0. This is ETHKL, so I'm guessing all of you are familiar with Ethereum. But yeah, I think Ethereum 2.0 is a big change. It's a big change of paradigm. Right now, we've got all the blockchains that they are decentralized, but there's these institutions, there's the miners which are securing the network, and they're doing an excellent job, by the way, mostly. And those miners basically control what happens with the network, and they would be able to, if they chose to do so, be able to collude and censor some sort of transactions in the network, like it has, or to even be malicious and mine fraudulent transactions, like it has happened a couple of times in the Ethereum Classic network. But yeah, so these have a lot of power. Miners have a lot of power. And what is interesting about Ethereum 2.0 is that anybody without any requirements, as opposite for mining. Mining needs big hardware requirements. You need basically very cheap electricity for it to be worth it, and you need a lot of computing power. But for validating on a proof of stake network, you don't need much. You can run a validator on a Raspberry Pi. Another thing is like whether it's recommended to do it in such flimsy hardware, but you can. The validation process is not computationally intensive, and it creates this sort of like, or it allows for a creation of a network where somebody with very, very little investment, 32 Ether, which comparatively to what you need to start a mining operation, it is comparatively very, very little, even though like it's a significant amount of money. You can actually decentralize. You can decentralize a lot the network. You can decentralize it a lot because anybody in each house could be running a validator. Then if you need to shut the network down, on a proof of stake, you need China, or sorry, not proof of work, you need China to say, okay, we're cracking down on all the mining operations, and Bitcoin will be severely compromised. Try to do that when Ethereum 2.0 and people are running on their own homes through peer-to-peer networks, different nodes. This is a lot harder to censor, a lot harder to tackle. So big potential for that. But they've taken some design measures that I think they're dangerous. The fact that this Ether gets blocked, gets locked. That when you put Ether there, be very careful if you plan to use this deposit contract, because you can't recover your Ether. Your Ether will be gone for 2 to 3 years, or 1 year. Harith was being very optimistic before. Touch wood. But yeah, you can't touch it. You can't do it. It's locked forever. And if there's something wrong with the contract or something wrong with your validator, and the software breaks down and you start double signing like crazy, you will get slashed and you will lose money. So it's very, very, very risky. So a lot of people will decide to not risk it and put their Ether in an exchange and let the exchange validate for them. It's a professional operation. They'll do it themselves and probably insure the deposits as well. Actually, we've seen some deposits already from exchanges into the deposit contract this morning. And yeah, so you will get to a point where a lot of people decide like, okay, it's a lot less problematic to let a big player do that. And if that's the case, we're in big trouble, because exchanges are known entities, and you can go and talk to the heads of these exchanges and make them do things. You can make them do things in 2 particular ways. You can do that if you're a government, you can force them to regulate, or if you have a lot of money, like this person right here, Justin Sun from the network Tron, you can just pay those exchanges in order to start validating in a particular way in a chain. And that's exactly what happened to the network Steam. Steam was a blockchain. I think actually you guys in ETHKL, that on the only presential ETHKL meetup that I went, we actually talked about this. So Justin Sun actually paid these people, Binance, Poloniex, and Huobi, to vote and to validate in a particular way, so they would give him more tokens, or I can't remember what it was, but Justin basically bought the company Steam, and but the voting power of the tokens was decentralized on the token holders. So he made Binance, Poloniex, and Huobi vote to give him more tokens or something like that. But anyway, the thing is, it doesn't matter what he did. What it matters is like he convinced people to vote in a way that benefited him. How decentralized is that? So that has happened before. And now imagine that it's not a person bribing for people to vote in a particular way. Imagine that it's a government that says you can't do transactions from these people because they're doing something against my fucking government and I hate them and screw you, you can't get paid. All right, so this is why it's important to have self-staking, to have an option to self-staking. But self-staking can be quite threatening, because I said you fuck up with the self-staking, or you lose your money. Oops. So so we need to find ways or figure out ways to do it in a way easier way that will be a lot less scary. I see some people asking on the chat. I'm going to read that later, but I have no problem going back onto the presentation later on. So can you see the DAppNode score right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if I was only sharing one tab or the whole thing. So good. So this is DAppNode. Voila. As I said, I think it's important to have an alternative to make self-validation a lot less scary and a lot safer than what it might seem at the beginning. Because if people keep putting their money into exchanges for validation, yes, they will get return, but yes, they are compromising the integrity of the whole chain. So, so yeah. DAppNode, we're trying to do exactly that. We're trying to give a really easy way to validate for people. And the reason why we're doing that is because of all of the first part of the presentation that I've been telling you. We want people to be able to interact with the centralized services without any centralizing parties. So this is the Dapp store. This is all the dApps that you can do right now. And you could install and deploy with a couple of clicks a Bitcoin node. I'm going to do that right now. Right now, what it's doing is reading the smart contracts in the Ethereum network. And it's taking a while. Okay, good. Now it's gotten the IPFS hash, and when I click install, I'm actually downloading from my own IPFS node, which is So I'm going to show it to you. System packages IPFS. Here we go. Voila. That's the IPFS. That's my IPFS node that I'm running locally. So it's going here into this IPFS node and downloading the Bitcoin node software. Okay. So the Bitcoin node software has been downloaded now and should be running. No, not yet. It says installing Bitcoin. So when that is installed, I will start running. With just a couple of clicks, I will be running a Bitcoin node. I'm going to go ahead with the rest of the demonstration. It takes a while. Okay, install Bitcoin. Here we go. Voila, Bitcoin. It's running right here. Synchronizing. Perfect. It just needs to sync. How easy was that? No command line. Easy peasy. Good. Cool. I'm going to remove it because I don't want it to, and I just deployed this to show you how to deploy a Medallia package, an Eth2 validator. So let's go to the meat of the presentation. Right on. So we've seen all the dApps. The Bitcoin can be considered a dApp, etc., etc. But the Medallia validator is the one that we're looking at. This is just an app. So a dApp. So we'll just go to get. And since this is a little bit more complex than the Bitcoin node doesn't need to do any configuration. Here, it asks me something. Here, where you put the alias is where you put, what was the ETHKL graffiti?
Can you put Guild Wars RZ?
RZ.
And then it's actually, sorry, no, Guild Wars, instead of S, you put a Z.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
And it's actually not ETKL, it's durian, so you know, like the fruit durian?
Yeah.
RUNTUH.
RUNTUH.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So
good.
if you understand Malay, you'll get this.
Okay, no, my level didn't get that far. Cool. So okay, so I'm accepting. So since this is software, we're going to be using the Prism validator client. Then here we need to read the terms and conditions of their software, and we go to install, and it's doing exactly the same as it's doing before, right? It's going to my own node of IPFS, seeing what this content is, what's the validator software, it's downloading the software. Remember, we're not going into any centralized providers here. We're getting this from peer-to-peer decentralized networks like the Ethereum blockchain and IPFS. Verifying download, and very soon we'll be able to go in. Take this opportunity to drink a little bit of water. So as you can see here, Prism, we have two software validators, validator softwares, two implementations, Prism and Lighthouse. There's a lot more teams working on different implementations for the validators. There's Teku, there's Nimbus. They're all sort of like targeting different sort of users. And these two are the more appropriate, I would say, for the normal users. That's why we started with this, but we plan to also, if we can, and it's not too much overhead, put Nimbus, for example, because Nimbus is adapted for low resources machines, and DAppNode also can be installed in a Raspberry Pi or any ARM architecture hardware. So you can install it in your Raspberry Pi if you want, and probably Nimbus is going to be better, a better choice of validator client for this. So here we go. The validator is running, but now we need to go to the dashboard to know what to do with this package. Here, if you remember, I put this password during the configuration of the package when I was installing it, and now I have to select a beacon node provider. A beacon node is the beacon chain is what is sort of like the core chain of Ethereum 2.0. And I have already, previously to starting this call, I have already installed the beacon chain, but if I hadn't installed it, now it would guide me, and with one click, I would install the Prism beacon chain as a dependency. I've already installed it to save time. Select validator client. I'm gonna select Prism as well, which is included in the package. And now I have two options: generate validators or import validators. Generate validators leads you to the launchpad. I highly recommend first in testnet. Have a look at how it works, generate your keys, familiarize yourself with the tool, and then do it. Am I breaking up? It's telling me that my connection is unstable. Sorry about this. If you're planning to do that, I'm not going to go through it right now. I did it before the call, and I'm just going to import the validators from that I have on my computer. Already done it. But as I said, go through the launchpad process. It does require a little bit of command line, but the instructions are super clear. Anybody can do it. And they've made a really good job. The Ethereum Foundation and others have done a really good job to really guide you through the process and make you aware of all the risks. So definitely do that. Generate your validator keys there, and then when you're ready, go to import validators. So import validators. That's exactly what I'm going to do right now. And I just put the key store here that has a password. Voila. Boom. My validating key store. So that the validating key store holds the validator keys, the signing keys that will sign the attestations that I will receive on my validator. Okay. So hey, the beacon node is still syncing. That means the Prism beacon chain. That actually I call it the Prism beacon chain, but there's only one beacon chain. There's different client implementations, but the content inside a Lighthouse beacon chain and a Prism beacon chain, it's exactly the same. They're both beacon chain. The same as TurboGeth and Geth and Open Ethereum are different client implementations of Ethereum 1, but the content inside is the same. Your transaction is in all of them. The same happens with this. They're just different implementations and in different languages with different optimizations. So here, the Prism beacon chain is still syncing, but we can see if we click here that our deposit has been done. And now it's just being, we just need to wait. Has to be sent to a validated deposit contract. Okay, it will be sent to a validated deposit contract once, oops, sorry, once, annotate, okay, good. Once the, my validator software can sync with the, this is really annoying, the bar, the zoom bar keeps appearing here and I can't change tabs.
Oh yeah, you can move it around. You can drag the green color around to a different part of the screen.
Oh, thanks. Good. Okay, so yeah, so that's the dashboard. Once the beacon node is syncing, the validator software Prism will make a request to put this this validator to work, and I'm going to start validating in Medalla, which is the testnet. Actually, I have to be accepted. There's like about 2 days of delay right now of queue for your validator to be accepted, but normally, if we hadn't had all the finality problems that we had, in a few hours, I would be already up and running and validating like this. So some interesting features of DAppNode is that it allows you to have different implementations already installed and prepared in the same machine. So let's say that a vulnerability or a bug is discovered in the Prism client implementation. Or in the, let's say in the beacon chain. The beacon chain does not talk well, does not talk properly, it's not storing something, it's growing out of control and it's putting your hardware in risk because it's growing too much. Hey, no problem. I can change to the beacon chain implementation of Lighthouse. I'm not going to do it right now, but that's something that you can do. And you can do it with a click and boom, everything works. Same for the validator. Right now, the only validator that is in this package is Prism. But as I said, Lighthouse is under development and Nimbus as well. So you will be able to switch clients very easily. Actually, Lion is about to kill me right now because we want to make it slightly harder to change, because this has a double signing risk. So we're trying to make it a little bit more safe by using the validator protection that it gives you. Okay, so now let's say that you have lost your files, you want to change this, you want to put it in a different machine because you need to move places. You're moving out of your apartment, you're going to back to your mom's because Corona has screwed up with your work, and now you can't, you've lost your job and you have to leave your apartment. This is very sad, but your Ether is locked, so you cannot sell it for a living. You need to keep validating. So in this case, what you would do, you would back up, you would export the validators here, the key stores, and you would put them in another machine and you would start validating in this other machine. Really important thing to notice here is that it's a lot riskier to do something that might double sign than to be offline for a few minutes. Being offline for a few minutes has very, very, very minimal penalties, because one of the design goals of Ethereum is for people to be able to validate in their own homes. They don't try to make it complicated, and they know that in your own home you can have you can be offline for a few minutes when your light, when your power goes out, when your internet goes down. So there's not much inactivity leak. It's actually not even called a penalty. It's called inactivity leak, and that's perfectly normal and observed. And as long as you're not more than 5 hours a day offline, you will not lose a lot of money, or like you'll not be like, depends on how much you've won, but like it just doesn't, you don't lose that much money. But if you double sign and you get slashed, you're screwed, because when you get slashed, you only get slashed once, and then you're kicked out of the validator set. First of all, when you get slashed significantly more than by inactivity leak, and then you get kicked out of the validator set. And here's the thing: if you get kicked out of the validator set, you can't get your ETH back. They are locked into the deposit contract forever. Not forever, but until phase 1.5 of Ethereum 2. So you don't want that, because maybe you have earned money, maybe you're like the slash won't be so big, but you will not be earning return on your investment here. You will not be earning return on this Ether because it will not be validating. You will be kicked out of the validator set. Okay. All right, so that's how you install a validator, an Eth2 validator on DAppNode. And right now, I'm sorry that it's not actually, that we cannot be so quick as to validate right now. It would be cool to start seeing the attestations here, which we would see here in Beacon Scan, a product of Etherscan, this the sponsor of our beautiful. Okay, so yeah, so that's pretty much it. What do you need to get a DAppNode and start validating? Do you have a machine that you can use to install DAppNode and have it permanently plugged onto your router? If so, install that DAppNode.io. Install your DAppNode, plug with an Ethernet cable this machine to your router, and you're good to go. You're running DAppNode, you're connected to the internet, you can start validating. If you don't have a spare machine and you want a pre-installed machine with DAppNode pre-installed that is just plug and play, go to shop.dappnode.io and buy a DAppNode from us. As I said, we spend all our efforts here on creating software that is good. This hardware is basically an Intel NUC that comes pre-installed with our hardware. So I do not have a preference for you going here over here. Actually, this is just hardware with the software that you can get here. So, all right, finally, I invite you all to, if you want to try to validate, you will definitely need to go to our Discord. We have a very active community of people validating on DAppNode. Discord.dappnode.io will take you there. And I don't know if the redirect is also already on the DNS. So if not, ask me later on the Telegram chat of the ETHKL, and I'll just put the link there. Go to our forum as well to see the discussion. And if you want to see our code, everything is open source on github.com. So thank you very much for your time and for listening to me.
All right, thanks a lot, Paul. I think there's a bunch of questions on the chat box, so we can start with that first. And I do want to leave some time for us to discuss Eth2, which, Paul, you've mentioned a lot of the pros and cons already anyway. But if anyone has any other thoughts, we do want to leave a little bit of time to discuss that at least. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of questions, so I think, Paul, we can let you answer those ones first. If you scroll up, I think you can see probably around.
Yep. So Infura equals not decentralized. Yes, it's a centralized company owned by Consensus. Cool. Feel free to ask your questions. Great. Is it a one-way contract, right? Yes, exactly. If you put money into the deposit contract of Eth2, you cannot get it out until ETH1 becomes a shard of Eth2, which is phase 1.5, and this will happen in who the fuck knows when. Sorry for my language. I'm a bit informal. So ETH2 staking, can validator contracts be cancelled anytime or be able to exit the deposit anytime? Well, yes, you can exit the validator set, but you cannot recover this ETH because of what we just said, that it's a one-way contract. You will have to wait until ETH 2.1 becomes a shard of the ETH2 chain, and then transactions will be enabled, and then you will be able to recover this this Ether. So yes, you can exit the validator set, but you can't get your Ether back. How many DAppNodes can you download in total? How many machines do you have? I mean, bring it on. There is a problem though. If you so the cool thing is that you can install many things in the same machine. You just need to like a big hardware, a big disk. You can run a lot of things. You don't need different machines. But if you have two different DAppNodes in the same network, they might interfere with each other. They're all talking to the UPnP of the router. This is networking stuff, very complicated. Don't ask me about it. But if you have any networking experience, networking experts here, they'll probably be able to answer to reply better. So yeah, you can install it wherever you want. You can put a DAppNode in your house, one in your mother's house, one in your grandma's house, and whenever you want. How have you been keeping up with all the ETH2 client changes? Well, I mean, DAppNode, DappLion, who is here in this call, in case you have some technical questions for him, he's been sleepless many nights, man. Like fucking hell, like breaking changes. How the fuck do you keep like breaking your own APIs all the time, like at every single release, and you do 2 releases a week? Anyway, so yeah, been keeping up with it by not sleeping a lot. Mostly DappLion, but yeah, that's part of being an integrator, a software integrator, meaning being a little bit downstream. You need to be able to do that. Cool. I'm a hobbyist building and customizing Raspberry Pi server. Awesome. 2 questions. Is it legal to run a DAppNode in Malaysia? That's a good question. I think yes. When I was here, I was running a DAppNode and nobody kicked the door down. Any resources for running an experiment? Yes. So you should definitely go to dappnode.io or install.dappnode.io and read the documentation. The forum as well. You'll find a lot of help at the forum. Lots of questions that people have had. So it's forum.dappnode.io. Or you can go to our discourse and start asking questions. People are really friendly. I hang out there a lot. And Ruben here, Rubeni in the group also will be super happy to reply to any of your questions. Legal to run a DAppNode in Malaysia? I think so. Yes, there's nothing illegal in a DAppNode. You're basically running an Ethereum node, and as far as I know, this is legal. So I talk a lot about governments and censorship in my talk, because that's that's sort of like a sensitive issue for me because I'm Catalan, and Catalan websites or pro-Catalan websites or demonstrations or even voting has been censored and prohibited by the Spanish government in Catalonia. So I'm super aware of the abilities of governments to sort of censor stuff. That's why every product that I want to build, I want it to be censorship resistant. So I talk a lot about this, but it's not that DAppNode does anything illegal, is that it is uncensorable. In the sense that you can't censor anything that's on DAppNode. If it's on Ethereum, you can access it through your DAppNode. I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, I'm happy to expand. Personal opinion: nothing is illegal until they have been. Yes, correct. Cool. I think something is like 56% uptime to break even. Could be. Yeah. Okay, that could be. I did not know that that number. So I mean, that gives you a lot of leeway to have your DAppNode down in time. That's like a little bit more than 12 hours a day. You basically just, yeah. I mean, you're not gonna lose money by being offline a little bit. Jurisdiction. DAppNode run on Docker VM. So actually, if I understand this correctly, DAppNode actually includes Docker as part of the dependencies. DAppNode is a Docker built machine. It's basically a series of Docker packages talking to each other. The core of DAppNode, which is the Dapp manager, talks to a Wi-Fi package, the VPN package, and they're all Docker packages and they talk to each other. And basically, when you download Dapp, it's also a Docker image of a Dockerized application that somebody has done. You run DAppNode on a virtual machine, yes. You can even run it, and I will never admit that I've said that out loud. Oh shit, we're being recorded. But you can even install DAppNode. If you want to test it, you can install DAppNode on a VPS as well. You can put it on a droplet. You can put it on AWS. You can do that. It runs. Just needs a Debian-based system behind, so Linux, and that's it. Telegram link, please. Okay, cool. Slides. Yes, I will share the slides. You won't get slashed, but you can't withdraw or use it. Yep. Any way to calculate the returns on the 32 ETH? Yes, there is a calculator by CodeFi. I can't. Let me try to find it. CodeFi ETH returns calculator. Staking rewards. Okay, I didn't find the one that I wanted, but I found another one which I can share here. Oh, come on, beacon scan. Sorry, I should have read a little bit below. Sorry, Harry.
No, that's fine.
Cool. And that's it. We've gotten to the end of the questions that were written on the chat. So questions.
Yeah, if anyone has any other questions, I'm going to allow people to just unmute themselves. So yeah, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask. Otherwise, I do have a couple of my own. And one was like, and feel free to like say no answers yet, but I find very interesting when it comes to projects like yourselves. Like, do you have any plans to like make sure it's sustainable for the long term, since it's free open source software?
Yes, yes, certainly we have plans. We have plans, and we at some point we're finding Ethereum is a lot of overhead for a decentralized project like ours. That its main goal is to be able to install anything that you want, including Ethereum, on a machine that's owned by you. So using Ethereum as the coordinating source of truth for our repository means that in order to access every DApp into the Dapp store, you need to download 400 gigabytes of extra data. So that's a lot. So we're looking into ways to do that. Maybe an optimistic rollup would be something that's cool, and maybe a chain, our own chain for coordination would be also cool. That doesn't mean that we abandon or Ethereum at all. Actually, we're super linked to Ethereum, and it just means that you can install an Ethereum node if you want to, and not as a dependency. Right now, actually, you don't even have to install an Ethereum node. You can have a light client, and that will do exactly the same. You actually have the option to choose between a light client, a full node, or even a remote. If you really don't want an Ethereum node, not even a light client on your machine, because you are a Bitcoin maximalist and you don't want to have anything to do with Ethereum, you can connect to our own node. So we're sort of like the Infura here. You can connect to our node and read the repository, the smart contract from our own node. When you install a DAppNode, you're given a menu to choose which option you want to do it. You're on mute.
I don't know if you can see, but there's a question here. How can an ordinary person who doesn't have a crypto wallet tip you? Any projects to bridge such gaps?
Yeah, so without crypto, it gets hard. I mean, we do have a legal entity in Switzerland, and we have a Swiss bank account, but it's probably too much hassle for anybody to really do a international transfer. That's the beauty of crypto, that you can just send money to whoever you want, no matter for borders, no matter for commissions. So if you have some money that you would like to tip, and you're doing adventures, I recommend you to go to Luno and put this money into getting your own Ether or your own crypto and start experimenting with it. And you don't even have to send it to me. Consider that this is an investment for yourself. But thank you so much for the thought. That's super cool.
Yeah, actually, just a side note. If people are interested, we can even run a workshop on like how to get your own crypto and set up a wallet. And we can even use a DApp called Gitcoin, where we can provide contribute grants to using Gitcoin to DAppNode, and that grant money will be matched by other grant providers.
Yes, Gitcoin is amazing, and the Gitcoin grants program that they have, a lot of our funding comes from Gitcoin grants. It's community funded, and they have basically is what Liang was saying, but except with a crypto wallet. So once you have a crypto wallet, you can donate to projects like DAppNode or any others. I think ETHKL also has like a grant, right?
No, actually.
No, Bitcoin Malaysia. Sorry, Bitcoin Malaysia.
Yes,
and
yes.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So they have a grant as well, and you can donate money there, and the money that you donate will be matched by a big pot of money that Gitcoin, the Ethereum Foundation, Consensus, and other individuals can contribute to this pot.
Yeah, there's another question, possibility of having a less tech approach to stake Ether without running a 24/7 app on my machine.
Yes, it's what I said. You can probably stake it through an exchange. I do not recommend you that. You're compromising the security of Ethereum. But I'm gonna put a big but here. I know of many projects trying to solve this problem, trying to make completely decentralized validator pools or staker pools with decentralized validators, which is the important part, that the validators are decentralized. Otherwise, you can always trace those validators back and make them do things that they might not want to. So there are some projects about this that are going to be maybe not available for the launch in the 1st of December, potentially, but very soon they will come. So if you can wait, I'm going to be active and I can share this on the ETHKL group.
Okay, cool. And yeah, sorry, we're already running. There's not much time left for the discussion, but I do have like one last question is, how can the community, whether it's ETHKL or any other community members, support Node in any way?
Yeah, so I think, so Gitcoin grants always help. Like this is probably the biggest source of love from the community that we get. But of course, obviously, like if you want to try the software, DAppNode, install it in your machine, install it in a droplet and a VPS. If you don't want to like invest in like a hardware and stuff, now you can install it in a Raspberry Pi. So easy, like you've got it really easy. But yeah, try it, test it, and go to the Discord community and the forum, and give us feedback. Give us what you like. What do you need? We exist because of making life easier for people that don't have the time to do all the previous work that we do for you. So the only reason of existing is you using our product. So that's probably the best way to support. Give us feedback and yeah, monetarily Gitcoin grants, but use the product.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Paul. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks to you, seriously.
Yeah, I think we can see the talk was very interesting. There was a lot of questions, which, as we know, for the average Malaysian, it's not typically the case. Might also just be the people here in our call who are very, very curious. We have a little bit of time, about 7 minutes. I'm happy to extend it a little bit, but if people have to leave, feel free to do so. Just wanted to discuss some pros and cons of Eth2. So I shared a link in the chat box to a Google Doc. So feel free to go there. I'm gonna also just share my screen. Yeah, I quickly wrote down some notes ahead of time so that I knew we might not have as much time to discuss. I'm not sure why my chat box isn't open, so I can't read whatever chat someone's entering. But yeah, so in hopefully 6 minutes, or we might extend a little bit more. Everyone feel free to share your opinions. I'm gonna make sure people can unmute. Okay, so you can. Yeah, so these are just some basic intro, and if you have any other thoughts, feel free to add those as well. So yeah, so Paul covered a bunch of these points already, but just to give a sense, Ethereum is moving to proof of stake from our current proof of work. There's 3 or 4 phases depending on how you want to define a phase. The first is phase 0, which is about to be launched either 1st of December or slightly afterwards, where you can just deposit, you can't withdraw any amounts out. And then actually the graphic here would really help. So after that is phase 1, where you can create shards on top of the beacon chain. So imagine beacon chain is like a base layer, and you have like a few different like houses on top of that. But at this point, shards can only accept data; they can't execute any transactions. And then phase 1.5, as Paul mentioned earlier, is when we will basically put the current ETH1 into a shard, one of those shards on top of the beacon chain. And phase 2 is when we finally get all shards to be able to execute transactions by themselves and between each other. Yeah, and some reasons for doing this is it allows for a lot more scalability than we currently have. So if you guys have played with DeFi in recent months, we've had times where literally you can't do anything without paying an expensive amount. And it's also more environmentally friendly because we're not using up as much electricity. And I guess I should also say it's more decentralized. You might argue yes or no, because you're not in the hands of 3 or 4 miners that control all the hash power. Again, if you have anyone has any points you want to add, or you want to edit any of these points or disagree, feel free to unmute yourself. But yeah, some pros are that obviously you get some yield. It's not as crazy as the DeFi yield that we've seen recently, but it's also probably more sustainable. It's not something that will be 1,000%, but then gets rug pulled and then becomes zero after one day. Then you can also do it out of altruism, in the sense of wanting to support the Ethereum network, because it's such a cool thing that we all know and love. You can also get some reputation or bragging rights. There was actually yesterday, before the deposit contract got announced publicly, there was already one entity who deposited 32 ETH, basically because they wanted to get the validator index number 0, just to essentially be able to then show off, maybe to others or maybe just to themselves, that they're the first ever. So I think right now we're probably still in the, if not double digit, definitely in the triple digits. So if you want to show that, to the entire world 10 years later that you're one of the first, you can do that. Yeah. And probably you will get some proof of attendance protocol NFT badges as well for people who deposited before the launch. Yeah, so I think these are the pros I can think of. There might be others if anybody have any. So some cons, as Paul mentioned a few of them earlier. First of all, is obviously the large capital. So you have to put 32 Ether, unless you want to trust someone, either your friend or exchange or some entity. And that's roughly about 50,000 ringgit. So yeah, not cheap. So as Paul mentioned earlier as well, especially right now in the testnet, some of the clients every now and then you can't sync. So it's not stable and it can get hard to debug, especially if you're not a technical person. So if you cannot manage to debug, then you will get some inactivity leak, which means, as Paul mentioned, your amounts get reduced slowly. And there is an element of all proof of stake protocols, and I'm really looking for someone to give any point to disagree here, where if a proof of stake protocol, if someone who's already rich and stake, they essentially get richer, and that's an argument against it being more decentralized, in the sense that someone with a lot of Ether now can keep on staking, and 10 years later they'll have more of the network, essentially, if other people drop out at some points. So some other ways around how you can't, if you don't have enough capital, you could use a staking pool. So there's, Paul was mentioning some, I don't know those projects yet, but the ones that are live are, for example, Rocket Pool, where, as I understand it, I'm not entirely sure, there is no centralized entity that you have to trust. It's they've decentralized it across at least some different entities, and they've also created a Rocket, an RETH token, where that token you can use outside of the beacon chain. Yeah, you can essentially withdraw it and use it in the current Ethereum. So just a quick note. They're actually the second group behind the Canucks, which is looking to donate to DAppNode. So let me see. Yeah, so they're 1561. So they're catching up. I think Canucks was ahead by a larger margin before. So if you do want to support DAppNode, then you can add this graffiti to your validator. Otherwise, what I understand is Rocket Pool said they would divide it to all their members. So if you trust them to distribute the reward and you want to have a little bit of it, you can use this as well. Otherwise, there's always the ETHKL one, Durian Ruto, for you to use. And lastly is exchange staking. So Paul mentioned it as well earlier. There's the whole centralization risk, but from a ease point of view, it's a lot easier. You don't have to figure out anything. The exchange does it for you, and you can probably withdraw it very easily as well. Yeah, so I didn't mean to this to go over all those points. If anyone has any other points, feel free to add. But I just wanted to make sure we don't run over time by too much. We're already slightly 2 minutes past. Oh, okay, so we have some questions in the chat box. Eugene says validators need to be paid. Yep, that is perfectly true. The whole sort of game theory behind it is to give incentives. Nicholas asks, has anyone tried Rocket Pool? If anyone has tried, feel free to share. I haven't actually tried a Rocket Pool validator myself, but I have talked to some of their people. Yeah, so if anyone has tried or will be trying later, feel free to share, let's say in the Telegram group. I'd love to find out more. Liang asks if there is a 3-month projection of how fast Eth2 will grow in 2021. I don't know, Paul, do you have you heard of any projections for Eth2? Okay, so Paul's saying Rocket Pool is a custodial solution. They'll give the money after 1.5. Yeah, keep that in mind. But you can use the RETH. Whether or not the RETH's value will be the same as Ether is a different story. Yeah, so on the projection side, I think the closest thing we can have to a projection is just to even look at the deposit, what you call this, the minimum deposit needed on the launchpad. So if you go to launchpad.ethereum.org, this will show the minimum amount that is needed to be deposited before Eth2 can even launch in the first place. So yeah, I think probably something like 5% there after 1 day. So this might give you a sense of like after how many days, how much has been deposited. Will give you at least a projection of when the Eth2 can launch. And then after that, yeah, I don't know of any projections as yet. If I find any, I'll probably just share it in the Telegram group. Yeah, so yes. So what happens if we don't meet the target? We won't start until we do. Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see. I'm sure there are a lot of whales that have Ether since the beginning, and if they wanted to, I think they could. Even let's say someone like Consensus, whether they like it or not, probably have a lot of Ether, and they can use that to validate. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be interesting to see the rate of depositing. It might just happen that in 1 day later, like half of the nodes get set up, which is very interesting to discuss for everyone. Yeah, so Paul's correct. So it also has to be after the minimum genesis time, which is the December 1st. I don't think we'll get there before December 1st. And personally speaking, I know it's recorded, and this is just my personal opinion. I don't think the clients are all fully ready to run without stability issues. I can see Paul shaking his head as well. So yeah, that's someone who is actively involved. So I don't think anyone can stop it if the deposit amounts are fulfilled. But yeah, I think a lot of people are a bit hesitant. I mean, it can run and people might lose money, and Ethereum will still be there. There might be a slight drop in Ethereum price if that happens. But I think regardless, it will still run even if there's stability issues. So yeah, so we're already 6 minutes past. So thanks everyone for joining. Thank you again, Paul, and the other DAppNode members for joining us. Love to have you again next time. I'm sure there's a lot of other topics you guys can share as well. So yeah, welcome, Paul. Uh, so as I mentioned at the start of the meetup, we are looking to see if there's a workshop for Eth2 that we can arrange with the ETH Taker group. So if you guys are interested, please let me know either here or in Telegram, so I can have a gauge of how many people will show up. I also want to be fair to them that, you know, we don't want to get them to organize and then like only 2 people show up. So if I can get a sort of gauge from the KL community, I can contribute that, and then the other people, the other meetup organizers from Bangkok, from Colombia, from a bunch of other countries are looking to invite their community as well. So we can all like meet each other on a workshop. So yeah, let me know if you're interested. And if you have any topics you'd like us to cover for next month or some other months, let me know as well. And I can try and find suitable guests. Otherwise, yeah, thanks all. If anyone wants to stick around and ask any kind of like questions or just like chit chat, I'm just going to leave this Zoom up for a while. But if anybody wants to leave, feel free to do that as well. So yeah, thanks guys. Bye. Thanks for joining us, Nicholas. Liang, I don't think other people are sharing their video, so you might not be able to see anyway. Thanks for joining us, Driss. Hope you can join us again next time. Yeah. So if you want to like share your video, you can do that as well. Happy to see each other's faces. And yeah, if anybody has any links that you want me to share here, before I forget, let me know. Cheers, Steven. Thanks for joining us again. Hope to see you in person. Oh, not. I have allowed participants to unmute according to the admin. I can unmute you right now. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so Liang, you're unmuted right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to say I want to share video. I just said that because your what do you call it? Your screen was blocking the guest view. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. That's fine. Yep, that's fine. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm just gonna leave this open for people to like just chat or what for the next say 5 minutes or so. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for joining. Yeah, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining, Aswa. Yeah,
So,
please come again next time.
Harris, can I ask? Are you actually running training for this Ethereum?
So what we've done with ETHKL is we've done blockchain 101 talks, and recently I worked with 1 or 2 universities to do both 101 talks and hands-on setting up a wallet workshop. So yeah, I don't mind doing it, or like even ETHKL sort of mods don't mind doing it. Maybe if you can get like say 10 or 15 people, we can do that. So it's not, so it's a good use of time.
What are the most challenging obstacle? Is it a programming language or what is it? For people to get into.
Yeah. So okay. I have to preface this by saying I'm not a developer, but there are a bunch of developers in ETHKL. And my understanding is that the technical stuff, the programming side, isn't the difficult part. The difficult part is understanding some basic concepts of the blockchain and how it's different compared to your Web 2, like your normal internet kind of programming. So for one thing, when you do smart contracts, it's largely speaking, locked in place. So you can't really like move fast and break things. And there's money involved. So, you know, if you screw up, then people's amounts can get lost. So there's some of these kind of like concepts, frameworks for people to keep in mind. But the programming itself, yeah, if you use Solidity, it's very similar to JavaScript. So yeah, it's not the hardest part on the technical side. Sorry, just gonna point quick. Shen Yang said that, okay, I think Shen Yang left already, but he can share on setting up a lighthouse beacon node and validator. So yeah, if anyone's interested, can I can organize that with Shen Yang. I believe he stays in Penang. Then I'll check with him. Nicholas asked which university. So I've done with INSEF. It's like a master's program for Islamic finance. Let me see. Who else did I did it with as well? Can't think off the top of my head right now. I have talked to some Monash alumni and students. So they've joined like by an informal talk. Yeah, so actually if you can connect us with your faculty in your university, I'm more than happy to talk to faculty and arrange both the one-on-one talk and the hands-on side, and even a technical workshop if there's interest. And sorry, not to go on and on, but we're also unofficially in talks with the Ethereum Foundation to see how they can support local communities like ours. So some ideas include even providing a grant for like students, for people who want to create like open source community projects such as DAppNode. And from there, like even if students are building on it, the older members can provide some guidance, some networking, and you can then use that experience to either like pivot it into a company or put it into your resume or GitHub, so you can like get a lot of exposure in the whole essentially global blockchain space.
Haris, hello.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for a developer to test the protocol I'm designing, because just now I asked the question of if somebody don't have this what do you call it, crypto wallet, how to send money, right? So basically, I gave you the link just now. Did you actually keep it, or should I put it send to you again?
Yeah, could you send it again? I think it might be lost already in the
Hold on,
in the chat box.
Wait.
Oh, is it this one, the bit.do?
Yeah, BitDo, yeah, the BitDo Force DUA.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see, the idea is actually very simple. You see, this public key, right? Public key has been used as a fundamental ID in all this blockchain technology, but they are not actually used explicitly for user authentication, right? You get what I mean? Like, for example, when you try to log into a website, you are still required to register your own username.
Yeah.
And after that, you have a centralized system to authenticate you with your password, right? However, if you actually use a public key, then we can get rid of the centralized user authentication altogether, right? In theory, yeah. So if we do that, right, then, in fact, we can set up a system, something like, to connect the national banks, like a router, okay, through a network of central banks, and then together with the cryptocurrency exchange, or in fact, each individual person can act as a router. I don't know that description makes sense or not.
Okay, I just put a link inside the chat box. Is it similar to this magic.link in the sense of you can sign up or log into different software or different applications using just your wallet instead of email or password?
Magic.link? Which one?
I just posted in the chat box so you can take a look at that. I don't know if that's exactly the same as what you described. Oh, I noticed, Shenyang, you shared your screen. So I guess this is a Lighthouse validator. I'm not sure if you meant to share your screen, just so you know.
Is somebody sharing the screen?
I believe Shenyang is sharing his screen. So that's it's showing a Lighthouse validator. Okay, cool. Yeah, as long as you're aware, you're not showing any private stuff. Um, sorry. So actually, Shanya, if you're interested, we can arrange like a local workshop as well. Let's say if the ETH staker one doesn't go through, or if you just want to do it another time and maybe just like more local. If you're interested, we can arrange one where you present, and I can gather any Malaysians who are interested to join.
Haris.
Yes, Jan.
Yeah, okay, I sent you a link. This one is a JS Encrypt demo. Okay, it actually pretty much is like a very simple, demo to explain the concept that I explained to you just now. Using public key to authenticate user.
Let me see.
You see the link that you sent me, right?
Uh-huh.
You see, it says that you still need to register. Now, if you still need to register, that means that they have not get the concept of public key authentication at all. You see, basically, if you use public key authentication, right, there's no need for sign up at all. No need to sign up.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see, for example, right, if we can do this, okay, let's say, for example, if we want to send money to Vietnam, okay, all we need is that we need an agent in KL, and we need another agent in Vietnam. Now, between the agent in KL and Vietnam, they will use Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency. Okay, so there will be 4 parties involved, right? So the sender and the recipient plus the 2 agents. Now, so the protocol in between all the agents, right, will be encrypted using public key. So there is no centralized user authentication at all. All right. So meaning that the sender and the recipient, they don't need to have a crypto wallet because the agent will have the crypto wallet. And then at the end, the agent will pay the recipient through the ordinary national bank system. But the secret here is that the authentication is done, okay, just like a network. You see, network you have router, right? So in this case, you have 3 parts: A, B, C, D, right? So A to B, B to C, C to D. Now each of these are all encrypted using public key. Now there is no centralized server at all. See, it's a very simple concept, but the problem is that I need people to validate that. So meaning that I need developer to actually who understand this idea. And basically, the GitHub site I show you is actually I have some demo code there, but of course, it's a protocol, right? Meaning that it's open, meaning that in fact, anyone can re-implement this thing based on the same idea, right? Yeah, so that is what I'm looking for.
Okay, I'm trying to see how we can help you here. Maybe we can do like a quick demo, let's say at next month's meetup, and then if any of the audience are interested to test or give feedback or use it, then they can connect with you afterwards. And I can also link you up with a couple other communities as well, like Bitcoin Malaysia, for example, if you haven't already linked up with them. And then either we can do it jointly with them, a demo, or they can have a demo at like
I think
another meetup
it'd
that
be
they're.
great. It'd be great if I can have 1 or 2 developer to do the test with me before I actually do the presentation, because that will make sense, right? because I
Yeah.
designing this thing myself, right? So a lot of it is like from my point of view, you know. So if I have feedback from other people, then it will be much easier. If
Yeah.
we then yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, uh, just not sure how to say this, but like a lot of as with many things lah, like a lot of the very good people are also the ones who are the busiest. And like even if I was to just like ask, hey, can you help? Like they won't necessarily are available to help. So I'm trying to see how we can like if we've shown the demo or we presented it a little bit, then they understand it a little bit more. Maybe it be like more there's more of an incentive for them to help.
Okay,
So yeah,
I tell you what I can do. All right, the link I give you, right, are basically whatever I have written on GitHub. Those are, I mean, if somebody is interested and if they are technically, you know,
inclined.
they are technical people, they can understand. But
Yeah,
besides that, I'll try to write a, you know, a more user friendly PDF, and also I'll try to make a short video presentation. Meaning that
yeah,
instead of me explaining, you know, this thing in text, right? I'll make a short video for my idea. Now,
yeah,
if you think my short video is good enough for the next part presentation, of course, I mean, I don't mind, you know, using that for the next, you know, whenever you think is suitable. But that video is also for the purpose of demonstrating my idea to whoever developer that you think is maybe interested. Yeah. So I
yeah.
think that's what I
Yeah,
think.
for sure. So I would suggest even you write not a PDF lah, you write like a Medium post or any kind of blog website. Write a blog post. We can help distribute it via Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, stuff like that. So there's at least some pre-interest, and then we can tell them, hey, if they want to learn more or know more, they can join our next meetup, and I can give you maybe say 10 minutes to do like a short video or short demo so that after that, if anyone's interested, I can link them out with you. Lah. Does that
Yeah,
work?
yeah, yeah. Definitely, I'll do that. I'll do that. Sure.
Okay,
That's
cool.
that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So do the blog post and the video. The blog post we can share already, and if you post it in the Telegram group, I'm not sure if you're inside already, but if you post it in there, then if anyone got any questions, you can also just ask inside that group lah.
Okay,
Um,
so you're in the Telegram also, right?
yes. There's pretty much a bunch of us that's in this call in that Telegram group. It's not the
Okay.
most active group because we're not talking about prices and stuff like that. But
Mm.
yeah, I think if you can explain your idea clearly and simply enough, I think people will be happy to share their feedback.
Okay, okay. So anyway, in case I have problem joining the Telegram, you are contactable on Meetup, is it, or is there any other method to?
Yeah, on Meetup, I shared the Telegram link earlier. I can share it again.
Yeah, I know, I know. I have it. I have it. I'm just wondering,
Okay.
just in case I couldn't get, you know, for some other reason.
Yes. Actually, what I'll do is not to self-promote myself, but I also have Twitter, so you can DM me or just tweet to me. Um, yeah. So Twitter, Telegram, Meetup. I think out of those three, yeah, you can try all three lah. We should be able to respond
Okay, okay, okay.
via one of
Got that.
those.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. I'm also going to post an ETHKL Twitter, which is, I guess, not very active also. But yeah, if you ping ETHKL Twitter, for sure one of us will see it. Lah.
Okay, okay. Good.
Right. So Rafiq is asking fundamental question. Why do people stake their ETH in ETH 2.0? Actually, let me share back the Google Doc just now. Maybe we went through very quickly, but some things are you get yield, so that's the rate changes depending on how many validators there are. But it's not your crazy hundreds of percents of APY lah, like the DeFi stuff. But it's if I remember right, it's like below 20%, like 15, 18 ish. If there are not that many validators, especially at the start, and then as more and more validators join, the return gets lower per validator. So maybe you get, I don't know, 4% or something like that. So that's one element. And then, like I mentioned, like if you want to, as part of the altruism of supporting this beautiful technology that is Ethereum, that isn't owned by anyone, that's one reason as well. And the reputation. So like if people ask, oh, are you an Ethereum person? And someone says like, you know, they don't have even any Ether, then that's kind of, someone might react to it and go like, yeah, you don't really have any of your own wealth inside Ethereum, so maybe you're not as much of an Ether person, maybe. And if you go one level ahead, you can, if you can say that, if you can show that, hey, I'm a validator for Ethereum, I'm helping to secure the network. There is a certain reputation that you can use, especially if you have like a good validator index number, or you have the proof of attendance protocol badge. Then it's a sort of a form of reputation. So let's say you go to DevCon or you go to any other event, or you just meet people and doing some sort of business deal. It's a way for people to like somehow like trust you better lah, because they know you're like committed and you're like securing the network. So those are some of my thoughts. Share. Other people might have other points as well. No worries. Yeah, so it's already almost 10, so I didn't think we'd stay on for this much longer. So yeah, if anyone has any final questions or any final thoughts to share with other people here, feel free. Otherwise, I'm gonna shut it down, the Zoom call, and I'll do a bit of editing and post the recording on YouTube afterwards. So yeah, thanks guys for joining. Yeah, thanks a lot, Liam, for joining. Please make sure join us again when you can, next month and other months. Yeah, thanks, Rafiq. Yeah, so see you guys next month.